If there's one element of the Persona series that stands out above the rest, it's the characters. Traditional anime archetypes are thrown viciously against the thematic through line of each Persona title and told to survive, subverting their traditional trappings and struggling against heavy burdens of expectation, mortality, self-acceptance, and societal entanglement. Players are asked to invest their time into these characters, choose which ones they want to help most overcome their problems, use whatever they have in order to make their lives better. And when Mitsuru or Rise or Ryuji sticks up for themselves and makes a decision to push forward, you feel this wonderful bond with a character that you went the extra mile for, and get to see them achieve this fantastic resolution that might inspire a similar feeling out of you. Or occasionally, horrible guilt that you didn't max out a confidant. It's natural for attachment to a given Persona game's cast to grow dramatically, and the desire to see more of their adventures or where they might develop next expands in tandem. And most Persona spin-offs suck at that. It's no secret that most of the character portrayals in Persona spin-offs like Q in the Arena games are less than complementary to character growth. The emotional arcs of characters like Akihiko and Teddy are mostly ignored, and their moment-to-moment dialogue is boiled down to jokes about the body or protein and being unforgivably horny and attention-seeking at all times. Those anime archetypes that the main series spent so much time breaking down seem to entrap Persona casts the moment they're set loose from the thematic through line of their debut games, with all the heavy emotional lifting done by whatever original characters the game is introducing. And while there are exceptions to this rule, Yosuke has a solid continuation of his arc in his Arena story, Kanji tends to get one really great scene in any game he's in, and Strikers might as well be Persona 5 too at times, it's so good. It's generally agreed upon that you're digging for specks of gold in a mountain of, yes, I get it, Chie. Meat! But the dancing games, though. Persona 4, Dancing All Night, followed up later by Persona 3, Dancing in Moonlight, and Persona 5, Dancing in Starlight, stands in stark contrast to the rest of the series. Sure, P4 Dancing has its own overly long, occasionally insufferable story mode.
It's time for some sad Teddy Night Fever!
But not only does it have those usual bits of gold, it necessitates more to be taken from the characters through its gameplay. Each of these rhythm games requires every member of the main cast to dance, and it's through these routines that we get some of the most enjoyable character interaction in the whole series. Every character is thoughtfully choreographed, their moves reflective of both the song they've chosen to dance to and their personalities. There are surface-level moves related to their interests, like Chie's kung fu kicks and Junpei's baseball swings, but their styles of dance, their intensity, the choice of song, and the way the characters move to them, all of these pieces come together to paint a full picture of the character. And through their duets with others, see how they interact and what their bonds mean between one another. There are absolutely beautiful moments in here, from Ken letting loose and rocking out on air guitar, to Yusuke's constant search for the right motivation to start his dance, to probably the most joyous and celebratory send-off the Persona 4 cast could ask for. And while this wordless expression gets across so much, one dance in specific stands out to me. Not just expressing character and personality, but a full arc of characterization that could be instantly understood just through motion. This is willpower. This is Goro Akechi.
Don't be surprised by my superiority.
But before we begin, I must admit that I'm not exactly adept at or well-read on dance. Thus, I have to give a huge thank you to dance and Goro Akechi expert, CrystAAHL, who let me pick at her brain and told me that no, just because he flaps his arms once doesn't mean he's imitating a crow.
No!
In all seriousness, she is an exceptional dancer who's recreated several of these dances in full cosplay, including Akechi's, and I wholeheartedly recommend her content. Thank you. Thank you so much for not letting all of this dictate the pace of the dancing video.
Are you okay? Yeah!
In the dance's beginning moments, you get an excellent feel for Akechi's personality and style. Holding himself prim and proper, the detective prince shows off a few sharp moves before striking a confident smirk, breaking into the meat of his routine as the song ramps up. It's this opening salvo that shows Akechi as he appears to the world. A charming, talented crowd pleaser with just a bit of self-assured swagger.
I should be able to finish this easily.
Most of Akechi's moves toward the beginning of the dance remain simple, fitting the mood of the music. Individual moves ending with sharp but personality-driven focus, rather than flowing directly into one another. Akechi is a showman, gliding about with kicks and a holier-than-thou smile, appealing to those around him not unlike an idol routine. Glad to command the stage with style and skill, Akechi has an allure all his own.
I can dance like this because of all your support.
Or he would if he wasn't competing directly with his rival, Ren Amamiya.
It's showtime!
Every move in Akechi's skill set is a tool that the leader of the Phantom Thieves can also bust out, both of them leaning on a foundation of ballet in their dances. The major difference between them, however, is how these tools are used. Joker's moves naturally link into one another, using ballet fundamentals to transition smoothly from one major emotional beat to the next. There is almost never a moment Joker pauses, using every inch of the space around him as he openly struts his stuff. He is completely and utterly free.
Looking good.
Akechi, meanwhile, barely moves from his spot at center stage, using his ballet fundamentals as trick moves to show off. While he's clearly talented, his dancing is very restrained and entrapped. Both Ren and Akechi's techniques could be classified as contemporary dance, an academic label that's a combination of ballet, lyrical, modern, and jazz. But while Joker makes his moves look natural, his talent effortless, his skill mixing in with the raw emotion of it all, Akechi stands out as particularly rigid. The individual mechanics of his moves on full display, but never coalescing into a routine that shows his true self. And that absolutely eats the Detective Prince alive inside.
Are you messing with me?
The further he gets into his routine, the more Akechi shows off his true colors, desperately looking at the audience when his back is turned with an unhinged glare, before quickly correcting himself with a smile. His moves grow more forceful, his facade slipping more and more as his two-faced nature begins showing itself, culminating in a final flashy Shinee second position battement jump that ultimately he fails to pull off. Whether slipping on his heel or just not able to bear his emotions any longer, Akechi doubles over, his body jerking unnaturally. As if struggling against puppet strings lifting his limbs, Akechi revs up, pulling himself to his feet, and the facade of the gentleman detective crumbles to make way for something far more terrifyingly honest.
Well, this is me!
This is Akechi dancing at his truest. Chaotic, erratic, and filled with malice. All of the emotions he'd been repressing come out at once. Attempts to regain composure and bottle them up again falling to the simple euphoria of letting loose. Akechi doesn't hit individual moves before moving on to the next. He throws his body from spot to spot, linking them together rhythmically through little more than talent and force of will. There are so many spots where Akechi looks like he's about to topple over, his center of gravity violently jerking as he recklessly flings his body into moves. But every time he's about to trip, Akechi always catches himself, never steadying his course, but thrusting himself into more punishment. And this expression, this self-destructive dancing, is the core of Goro Akechi. He's a remarkably talented individual in all aspects, but that talent is used not to allow him to excel, but to just barely keep him standing. Akechi is utterly alone in a world he desperately wants to lash out against, barely caring what happens to himself as long as he gets to shine and fulfill his goals, horribly jealous of anyone who dare try seeing him eye to eye.
I won't lose. If I ever lost, I'd...
And it's only at the very end, where he's stumbling back, falling behind this bulkhead divider, that he reaches out for anyone else. And answering, a partner appears. Fever time starting. Akechi has 4 different dance partners for Fever Time, along with a solo dance for the section, each illustrating another side of the high school heartthrob's personality. When dancing with Makoto or Futaba, Akechi has identical choreography, reflecting his opinion of the lesser Phantom Thieves as interchangeable pieces to be used at will, and likely saving on some cash by not needing to choreograph and motion capture another sequence.
You're in the way. Get out of here, side character.
This is Akechi at his most smug, able to show off to someone he knows for a fact is inferior to him. A pleasant smile and crafty footwork luring his guest into a sense of security. Heck, Makoto and Futaba even try to imitate his moves. Clearly a step behind, but knowing game when they see it. And when their back is turned, that's when Akechi brings his true self out, laughing at their inferiority.
What an eyesore!
And as they attempt to strike and capture him, Akechi almost effortlessly avoids them, predicting their every move before sending them off with one final flourish. The girls serve as the perfect confidence booster for Akechi, reminding him of how far ahead he is compared to everyone else for a brief respite before the violent whirlwind of emotions that makes up his psyche sweeps him up yet again.
Unfortunately, that's the end of your role.
This is the last time Akechi gets to feel joy in his dancing, as the rest of his Fever Time simply highlight his continued struggles. When paired with Caroline and Justine, Akechi has absolutely no idea what to make of the tiny wardens.
What are you? Monsters!
Even less in control than usual, Akechi is thrashed around, metaphorically whipped by the Velvet Room attendants. No matter how he moves, the twins always simply walk to force Akechi between them, studying him as he dances for their amusement. Hell, they even force him to dab, Akechi barely able to keep his arm from reaching his face before suffering ultimate humiliation, before they grow bored with fate's toy. A slave to his own power, Akechi is forced back into an invisible jail cell, Justine and Carolyn shutting the door behind him before departing. In spite of all of his thrashing and rage, his great power and skill, Akechi can ultimately do nothing to resist those controlling him.
But there is one relationship where he's free. When Ren comes to dance with him, this is Akechi's chance to prove himself to be every bit the superior to his rival that he thinks he is.
This is fun, right? Fun!
Their Fever Time is an utter duel, Two dancers of equal skill and similar background performing perfectly synchronous moves, Joker doing his best to harmonize while Akechi tries to leave his rival behind. This is an absolute climax of dance, with both performers giving their all. They're building context of rhythmic one-upsmanship ending with an absolutely brilliant mirrored leap. The theatricality of a standoff is played up brilliantly here, and the aftermath illustrates perfectly the differences of the two. After his leap, Ren is able to continue his routine flawlessly, his arms careful and with purpose, technically sound, building to his exit. Akechi, though, he absolutely can't stand that someone, much less Ren, is keeping up with him.
No, this is impossible! No way am I worse than him!
His arms flail about wildly. He almost loses his balance. He practically looks lost as he tries to regain his composure to finish the section. And when he comes together with Joker at the end, he lashes out, screaming as the Phantom Thief turns away, fading back into the shadows. The stark difference between the two is evident. Akechi uses nothing but power and determination to keep up with the thoughtful, well-supported Ren. And through his self-reliance, Akechi finds himself alone yet again.
I've caught a glimpse of the difference between us.
And it's that loneliness, that isolation, that drives his final fever time. Akechi's responded to those who have answered his calls with indifference, superiority, jealousy, and fear. But what happens when no one comes? Akechi's last spotlight is by himself, and completely alone, his psyche just shatters. He's still dancing, still trying to enjoy himself, but his face is filled with all sorts of conflicting emotions. A manic, crazed look of retribution and freedom, an almost euphoric gasp of joy, a pleading look of desperation, a jolt of absolute fear. These feelings rapidly spread across Akechi's face. His movements are all wrong. A man desperately trying to stay on his feet as he's pulled in every direction, only able to go with the flow and indulge in the absurdity and cruelty of it all. And at the end, in spite of all of his pain, he rejects anyone else coming close, physically restraining himself from reaching out, then lashing out with the same hand he once extended. Akechi is an utter, devastated mess who can only bring his routine to its inevitable conclusion.
Oh, how sad! Getting all worked up like that!
The rest of Akechi's dance finishes his struggle. Moves are just thrown out haphazardly, his body jerking unnervingly to force those moves together into a cohesive routine. His torso is tossed forward, body being dragged up like a puppet on its strings in order to finish his dance. He holds himself, calling back to the start of the dance at his most proper and pristine, only to grind his soul into the ground, laughing at his shallow facade. Every single thing Akechi does is pure expression, getting everything he can out of his paradoxical emotions of pride and indulgence. Until finally, he waves his hands in front of his face, joints stiffening, before bringing his hands to his head. Tearing away his mask one final time, he looks forward and there's nothing. His arms become slack, his back bends backwards, his face is devoid of all emotion. Akechi has lashed out at everything, fought back against what controlled him, struggled in his own self-destructive way, and at the end of all of that, when the puppet is finally cut from its strings, he has nothing. He has given everything, and has nothing left of himself to enjoy.
King Crazy! Perfect! Oops, lost my cool for a moment there.
There is a lot to Akechi's performance to take in. The face he shows off to the world versus how he appears with his mask off, reflecting the overall conceit of the Persona series being shown in the different stages of his performance. his relationships with other characters and how he philosophically butts heads with them, his overall character resolution and what little that leaves him compared to the personality-driven dances of the other Phantom Thieves. All of these are expressed wordlessly, just through motions and facial expressions, to the point where someone totally unfamiliar with Persona 5 could at least look at this dance and go, "Is this kid okay? He doesn't seem okay," and get a general idea of the kinds of problems that Akechi faces. It is a celebration of Akechi, his triumphs and struggles, the good and the bad in equal measure, and it's meaningful. You don't just get a surface-level look at Akechi's primary prideful traits through his dance. You get to see more interactions with others, the same highs and lows he suffers through Persona 5 not repeated, but represented in a new and interesting way. And that is the beauty that can come from Persona's spin-offs. Some characters have arcs that are perfectly contained within their games. Character traits so intrinsically tied to Persona's themes that it's hard to see them outside the context of their initial appearance. It's the spin-off's job to highlight what makes that character special, to commemorate all of those things that made you fall in love with them, and to show those aspects in a new, meaningful way. There needs to be a reason behind each appearance, something that highlights the character not at their expected, but at their best, to further all of that love that the character rightly deserves. Achieve that, and you can elevate the character beyond where they started, and remind players why they love them all over again. Find the heart of your character, just like Akechi, and you'll push past simple cameos and references, and truly design for purpose.
Farewell. Let's meet again if we get the chance.